Benjamin Bratt. Let's talk about him in full. So, like you said, I was definitely underwhelmed by his appearance in this episode. As soon as she said, "Oh, Bale," I was like, "Oh, here we go." Obviously, if this is it, there's no reason to recast him. So they specifically talk about in the interviews Tony Gilroy and others needing to recast because of important scenes on Yavin 4. So I'm expecting some really important meaty stuff with the politics of the rebellion on Yavin 4 in either the end of next week's arc or in arc number 4. I'm expecting to see a lot more of him next week because why set him up in this week's arc if you're not going to bring him back next week? Other might as well just wait. But yeah, I was a little disappointed in like physically how they made him. He didn't really look at all like Jimmy Smits. Like I'm okay with the face not looking like him. They're not going to be able to hide that unless they decided to just go full CGI face. But I think physically they could have made him look a little bit more like Jimmy Smits. Both his height, his weight, his build. We'll see by the end of it if it's one of those things that where they could have just put a double in and had, Jimmy Smits come in later and record his lines on a green screen because they're saying it was scheduling conflicts is the reason he's wasn't in it. I'm sure within the 2 years they were making this season of Andor, they could have found some time to have him come shoot some stuff on a green screen. So we'll have to see why they couldn't do that as opposed to recasting. But what were your thoughts overall on that, Sanak, and just kind of him appearing in this episode? I know you said earlier you didn't love the look.
I do struggle more with the issue of the recast because the costuming, right? It doesn't really feel very Alderaanian, right? It just felt like something that I would see, like, Bale Antilles from episode 2 have or, sorry, episode 1, like, I don't know, like, I think they've been so strong this season, especially with Mon Mothma's clothing and everything, but just generally, I just don't see the point of changing it so drastically to something frankly kinda bare. Yeah, the circle beard's not exactly the same, and the hair is a little bit nicer, more flat for Benjamin versus a little bit more concave at the hairline. I can work with this if you give him, like, a little bit more of the flowier, more wavier, like, full body look that is very common in the Alderaanian clothing. It felt like, okay, if you're gonna do this, if you really have to do this without Jimmy Smits, at least make everything else about the character something that anybody can walk into, right? Like, that'll be like, okay, like, it's not 100% what I'm thinking, but, like, I'm getting it, I'm vibing with it, right? So, especially if we see Genevieve, like, kinda fully slip back into how she looks like in Rogue One, where she's very barefaced. She doesn't really have this insane Chandrilan, fashion wardrobe that she's been dominating
Mm,
this whole season with. So, I'm not worried about Benjamin Bratt's ability. I think
yeah.
he's an actor that every time I've seen him, I've been kinda impressed. I would've even liked his animated look in Rebels. Just go for something simple and plain, maybe as, like, a indication of, like, just how much forward thinking Bill already is without saying it so outright. Like, that would've loved that, but, I don't know, it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, that's fair too. I mean, I didn't really think about the fashion as much as the function of just the physical traits that to me don't like if you're going to recast, it's one thing to recast and then have a different face because every person has a different face. It's just something you're going to have to live with, right? But I think
Yeah,
physically they should try to make him look as much like Bale as possible. So no shade thrown at Jimmy Smits, but he this Bale needs a little bit more padding. But Jimmy
right,
Smits is pretty
right.
big. He's tall and he's
He's tall,
also
yeah,
more built. I mean, he's just got a little bit more meat on his bones. And so,
yeah,
especially when we look at the Rogue One version of Bale, I'm hoping they do the requisite things to make his face look a little bit more disheveled like it is and gray like it is in Rogue One. Give him just a look that looks like Jimmy Smits did in Rogue One. And Jimmy Smits, when you see him walking on screen next to Ewan McGregor, next to Hayden Christensen, next to all these different actors in Revenge of the Sith. I just saw Revenge of the Sith twice this weekend on the big
yeah, that
screen.
does not help.
He's yeah, he's as tall as Hayden Christensen. He's just slightly
Yeah,
smaller. He's a big guy, and Benjamin Bratt doesn't look very big in this scene. So I think those are just like the small things that you can add some height to him. You can add some padding in his costumes. Those are the small physical traits that I would have loved if they did, as opposed to just kind of saying, "Hey, it's Bale's Benjamin Bratt now. Here he is." That especially when a character's been played by one actor the entire time for years. Jury's still out for me. Obviously, this was like I said, it's like 2 minutes at most. And again, no matter what they do, even if they don't do a good job with Bail Organa, it's not going to really change my opinion of the show overall, the quality of the show, because I'm sure it will not be very impactful to the narrative. Andor's done such a great job of being so different and being so Tony Gilroy, but also being so incredibly Star Wars in its design and its look and its the way it brings characters back from all the other mediums, the way it references important plot points, so far as to make basically a plot point from Rebels one of
Right.
the core parts of season two. They've done all that work, and then it comes down to like one character that we all really know and love, and they're
Yeah.
like, here we have to do this. And I just don't I don't they the two reasons they gave, money and time, I don't buy really either of them unless there are really juicy meaty scenes where the two where he and another actor has to play off of each other. So I'm really hoping for that. That will be the thing that makes me go, I'm glad they recast if they couldn't get Jimmy Smits because those moments were worth it. But if it's just he's standing around in a council and everybody's having a conversation around the hollow table on Yavin 4 and he says a couple lines, that's going to be a little disappointing because they absolutely could have green
Yeah.
screened Jimmy Smits in and just had him come for a day or two on a set in LA or wherever he lives.
I'm gonna give it a chance. I wanna be surprised by the Benjamin Bratt, version of Bail Organa to the point that I see Bail Organa once he says something or does
Mhm.
that's one thing that helped Alden for me, for Han, even though I know people are like, "Oh, he doesn't really look like him," and all that, but then you see a deep fake and you're like, "Oh my god, he got the mannerisms 100% right. He got
Yeah.
the little tiny quirks and all that." I wanna see Benjamin incorporate some of that and show something new.
We've been very vocal about recasts on our channel. For those people who haven't joined on our channel before, we've been very vocal about recasts where it's like they're inevitable when you have a long running franchise like this. I get more and more okay with them every day, especially when logistically they're just impossible, like a young Han, Luke, or Leia. So at some point, unless you just completely move on from what is core Star Wars, you're going to have to recast. But this is one of those like doesn't need to happen moments. And I think those are the types of things that are just like when you have an inevitable recast, I think everybody can get over it at some point with time. And I wouldn't really want this, but if Jimmy was like, I'm retiring from acting, I don't want to play Bail Organa anymore, and they wanted more Bail in the future, if Benjamin Bratt wants to keep coming back for the next 10 years, then you'll start to feel like they're the same person. But if it is just like we wanted to acknowledge Bale existed, so we wanted to put him in for a couple scenes, but he doesn't do anything of significance, then that's where it starts to feel like, okay, what's necessary versus unnecessary recast? Because it's just one of those things that, especially in fantasy and sci-fi, you want to be completely immersed. It's one of those things that pulls you out of the immersion for a second, especially for hardcore fans. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you didn't know, this was a clip from our Andor live stream and Q&A. We go live immediately after the new episodes of Andor Season 2, so make sure you join us every single week to talk about the newest stuff from Andor Season 2, the latest episodes, everything that happens, full spoilers. It's a lot of fun. We take your guys' questions. We speculate about the future. It's a great time. Hopefully you guys can join us next week for that one. Thanks so much for watching this video, and we will see you all next time.